Today, we're digging into a really powerful first-hand story about what it's like to actually meet Jesus. And we're going to zero in on the most important part of this whole thing, the very words that he spoke. Because this story, it's all about closing that gap between Jesus as some historical idea and Jesus as a personal, present reality. For a lot of people, this question is the whole ballgame. Is Jesus just a guy who died 2,000 years ago? Someone we think about for an hour on a Sunday, but who feels totally disconnected from our Monday morning traffic jam or a Tuesday deadline? That feeling of distance, that's exactly where the story we're exploring today begins. And right away, you see this huge contrast. On one hand, you've got the common view. Jesus is this distant figure, maybe even a little scary, just waiting to judge us. But on the other hand, what this person experienced was someone who was intensely personal, a loving friend who was right here, right now. And figuring out how to get from that first column to the second one, that's what this is all about. So let's start with that common image, right? The source material we're looking at says that for so many of us, the picture we have of Jesus isn't really from God at all. It's more like a fake picture, one designed to keep us at arm's length, thinking of him as someone who's just waiting to catch us messing up, someone you'd be afraid to get too close to. And this idea that Jesus is far away, it runs deep. I mean, really deep. The speaker shares the story about her sister who was at university, and she told her friends, "Jesus, I miss you." And they were just shocked. Like, how can you miss someone who's so remote? It just goes to show you what a big misunderstanding there is about the kind of personal, close relationship that's actually on the table. And this is where things start to change. Faced with this distant, kind of empty picture of Jesus, the speaker just developed this intense, this overwhelming desire to know who he really was. And this wasn't just a passing thought. It was a deep, soul-level hunger that drove her to seek him with everything she had. And that seeking wasn't vague, it had a real shape to it. It started with serious discipline, intense prayer, fasting through the night. It also meant facing down real opposition. At one point, she says a demonic creature literally showed up, mocking her, trying to get her to just go to sleep. But she pushed through, and it all led to this final stage, an unquenchable thirst for God. And she says that thirst was a gift from God himself, so that he could be the one to satisfy it. And this is so key. This wasn't about a religious formula or checking off boxes. It was all about the heart. The hunger was just all-consuming. It was this deep knowing that nothing in the entire world, no success, no relationship, nothing could satisfy this longing except a real, genuine encounter with Jesus. And guess what? That intense, from-the-heart seeking, it was met. This is the pivot point of the entire story. The moment when crying out to God in the middle of the night was answered by a direct, personal visitation from heaven. So there she is, praying, not expecting anything crazy to happen. And the source says, the Lord Jesus Christ simply came. Right there, descended before her, just like that. In her living room, heaven met earth. And those were the first words he said to her. Just stay still. In an instant, all the frantic searching was over. The hunger was gone, completely satisfied. That simple command just shifted the whole dynamic. It went from her trying desperately to find him to her just being still and receiving his presence. And right away, the first thing she learned in his presence was about his holiness. And get this, he didn't say a single word about her sin. Just his perfect presence was like a floodlight that went straight into her heart and uncovered all this stuff she didn't even know was there. Her immediate gut reaction was just, "Lord, I'm such a sinner." It just shows you, when you get close to perfect holiness, you instantly see yourself for who you really are. Okay, so now we get to the absolute core of this whole thing, the real focus of our explainer today, the actual conversations. This is where we learn about what Jesus is like, not from a textbook, but straight from his own words. So first, she experienced his goodness, and she makes this amazing point. It's not that he has goodness, it's that he is goodness. She describes it like a real, tangible substance, almost like warmth or light just radiating from his body. It was so real and so satisfying that she felt like she could spend all of eternity right there at his feet and never want anything else. So at one point, she gets distracted. She says she could hear Satan in the distance, just shouting accusations. And when she tried to ask Jesus about it, he completely ignored the noise. He just told her, "Focus on what I'm telling you." He wouldn't even give the accuser the time of day. He kept their conversation locked in on his truth. Later on, she asks him this really vulnerable question, "Will you be my friend?" And his response is just incredible. He basically reminds her, "I've already given you my body on the cross. I've given you my heart. I've given you everything." He's not holding anything back from us. That closeness we want, he wants it even more than we do. But this kind of intimacy isn't a promise that life will be easy. He asks her a really direct and challenging question. He says, "Will you follow me even through the valley of the shadow of death?" Which is just another way of saying through the absolute hardest, darkest times of suffering. It's a really sobering reminder that being committed to him means through the good times and the bad. At one point, she tells him she's afraid her own heart is too easily distracted, that she won't be able to stay close to him. And his reassurance is just stunning. He references his ultimate power over everything and basically says, "Look, if I have the power to conquer entire nations, don't you think I have more than enough power to conquer and hold on to your heart?" So what do we do with all this? Where do we go from here? Well, this incredible encounter ends with a very clear, very practical instruction on how to actually live out this kind of close, personal walk with God. And here it is, the final, crucial command. She tells him she wants to walk with him, and his response is so simple and direct. "You will walk with me, but just keep the idols away." And the source makes it clear what those idols are. They're anything that sucks up the time, the attention, and the love that belong to him. And that brings the question right back to us, doesn't it? This whole story reveals a Jesus who is so much more personal, so much better, and so much more ready for a close relationship than we could ever imagine. But he asks for our focus. He asks for our time. So the question we're left with is a big one. What are the things in our lives that are standing in the way of that deeper walk?